Well, we've got with us Professor with us today, the voice of the Argos, and our football team is doing amazing. Will Kennedy, this is We Don't Color on the Dog. Good morning, Will.
Love the podcast name. Still strange when people call me professor. I don't know. It's one of those things.
Well, amazing. UWF has been on a huge roll last weekend. North Greenville had given them a test earlier in the season, but they handled them really well this past weekend. Talk a little bit about the game.
I think it's good progress, from where they were back in September. That first game regular season with North Greenville feels like it was 2 years ago, at this point. But really, that was the game that kind of encapsulated in the regular season what the Argos were struggling with a little bit, which was letting teams that maybe aren't as talented as they are hang around in games. And that game up in South Carolina, Tigerville, came down to North Greenville with a chance to tie it literally as the clock went 0-0. And we escaped with our lives from that game. And there were a few others like that. And really, you mentioned it, Rick, just rolling through the regular season, 9 and then finally you play with a hot stove long enough, right? You burn your hand. And that's what happened with Valdosta. And we lost in overtime, lost a chance to go 10-0 and be the number one seed in the region. I thought it was really interesting to see how would they bounce back from that? Would they come back hungry? Would they be distracted? Would they be maybe still feeling a little bit down? So kudos to Coach Caleb Nobles and his staff for getting them back on track. And I thought, really maybe if not the most all-around game they'd played, it was right there with anything else they've done all year.
Well, the game, the Valdosta game, it was a kicking nightmare. That seems to have been calmed down now, I think. Talk a little about that.
Yeah, we had a true freshman kicker all year, Brogan Wober, got off to a pretty good start to the season. He was battling an injury, and as kids do, especially athletes, sometimes you have to protect them from themselves. And I think he didn't tell the coaching staff, or he was fighting it and didn't really let the coaches know, hey, this is really bothering me. And it wasn't just Brogan. We had snap issues a couple of times. We had some that were blocked, whether it's extra points or field goals. Against Valdosta, for example, not the kicker's fault. We get one block, they scoop it up and take it back and get two. And so instead of, that's a 3-point swing, we end up tied, going to overtime, lose the game by 3. So little things like that, but it was penalties and it was kicking and it was turnovers in the wrong part of the field and penalties that really hurt you, in this point of the game when you could get off the field with your defense. Instead, you're giving the other team a first down. Valdosta is a good football team. They got bounced in the first round of the playoffs. But so it's interesting from here. I think that was, I don't know, cliche, right? When people say you want to lose a game in the regular season. I don't know that you ever want to lose, but I do feel like that was a wake up call. That was you're scared straight moment, if you will. Remember they take the middle school kids to jail and let them walk around and look and say, yeah, you don't want to be here. I think that was, for this football team to say, hey, the good news is this is the last week of the regular season. You get to play next week. But now if you lose, once you're in the playoffs, it's season over. So you've got to clean up all those little things.
What separates this team, Will, from the past teams? What makes this team different?
I would say this is really the first group that hasn't had any of that Pete Shinnick connection. And really that connection was something you wanted, right? I mean, 2019 national champs had been to the finals in 2017, got back to the Final Four in 22, 21, was ranked number 1 to start the season. So you don't have any of those guys left. And this is a clean slate a little bit. So this team really has Caleb Noble's imprint on it more than any other group has had in his short tenure in his 3 years. And then we got a new offensive coordinator. And I think the big difference has been Caleb was calling the plays and being the head coach. That is not easy to do. Pete Shinnick made it look fairly easy, but that's a tough one because you got to manage the clock. You got to be in contact with the defense. You've got to, all these things, talk to the refs. Now he's got an offensive coordinator, a guy named Donnie Baker, who came to us from North Greenville. And a lot of these fun plays that you're seeing, like double reverses and all this cool stuff, a lot of that's Donnie. And I think that's the difference. And I think you're starting to see too, we'll talk about the quarterback a little bit. Marcus Stokes is the difference, I think, with this team when he plays well. And that doesn't mean 300 yards and 6 touchdowns, but he's done that a couple times this year. It just means when he's on his game, when he's moving this team up and down the field, they're tough to beat. And he's following the footsteps of some pretty good QBs that we've had through the years.
Well, and I think Division II is getting a lot of attention. I mean, of course, I'm an Ole Miss guy. Ole Miss, Trinidad Chambliss from Fair State, Division II champion. Now he's playing SEC, unbelievable ball in the SEC. The caliber players that you're seeing in Division II now, it's a whole different game now. It's a much faster game. a lot more going on.
What we have found, this is an interesting one for folks who maybe have followed recruiting all these years. I mean, obviously they're still going to, the big schools, the Ole Misses of the world, the SECs, the Power Fives, they're still going to recruit high school kids if they're that top level high school kid. There's a lot of good high school football players who are now going to Division II because there's no room on a D1 roster for them to develop. And so they develop at the Division II level, and then they make that jump to D1. And so we're getting kids that we wouldn't have gotten 5 years ago that will come to us as a true freshman and come in and get, grow their talents. Yeah, it makes it tough for our fans, I think, a little bit, because you get used to somebody like you're really excited and then they leave. We lost 5 defensive starters from last year's team who all went D1, all got a little bit of money from somewhere. Defensive lineman Trayvon Mitchell went to South Florida. I think they paid him $200,000, which doesn't sound like much in today's NIL world, but for a kid, that's a good chunk of change. It's a good thing to help your family or buy a car, whatever it is you want to do. So it's hard, I think, because a lot of people will ask me, hey, do you think so-and-so is going to be around next year? It's hard to say, but it is. Yeah, I think you're right. The profile for D2 and guys like Austin Reed have helped that, our former quarterback who got on Hard Knocks with the Bears, and Tyson Bagent, who's on that team as the backup for the Bears, was another D2 guy. So you've got a lot of D2 guys who are showing up on Sundays as well.
All right, now this week we've got Newberry. We have them here, 1 o'clock. Tell us about this game.
There's some history with Newberry. We talk about 2021. So we win the national championship in 19. You don't play in 20 because of COVID. So you come back in 21. You're the defending national champs. We lost the game midway through that season, but went into the playoffs, 9-1 and feeling really good, and then went down to Blue Wahoo Stadium and kind of laid an egg against Newberry and lost in overtime in the first round. So that's the one time we've played them. And I think that's a good message for today's team. None of those guys were involved in that game, but you can now say, hey, this team came down here and beat a really good football team in 2021. You're going to have to be on your best on Saturday. They are physical. They like to throw the ball. This is the first team that we've kind of run into in a while that isn't run dominant. We have the best run defense in the country as far as yards allowed a game. They stuff the run and don't give up much. And so Newberry, I think, is going to try to spread us out and throw the football. That's been a recipe for some other teams to have a little bit of success against this Argo team. So this week, I'm sure, is all about assignment football. Where are the receivers? What are we in? What coverage are we in? All those things that football fans will know. And for those that aren't, hardcore football fans, it really is going to be, can you limit them from coming up with big plays? Can you not give up these deep passes down the field? Can you tackle and get guys on the ground? I think our defense has been really good all year long, except for a couple moments, and that cost us in the Valdosta game. I think offensively, right now, we're running the football kind of at will. I mean, this is the strangest one, Rick. You followed us for a while. We've been a passing team. I mean, we'll throw the ball all over the field, up and down. We'll go 3 straight incompletions and punt it sometimes, which is not what fans want. But we have outrushed our offense, our passing offense, in 3 of our last 4 games, and that is unheard of for UWF. So all of a sudden, we're smash mouth football out of nowhere, and running the football well. So I think a balanced attack is important on Saturday as well.
Well, it's I think the town's getting excited. They're getting attendance at the games has been crazy. Tailgating's been good. So it's for those that if you don't have to worry about a game, all your teams are done by Saturday, or you don't have a Saturday night game. If you're Alabama and Auburn, this is a perfect warm up for all that.
Yeah, it's one of those things. The community's been absolutely fantastic, and really moving from Wahoo Stadium to campus has been transformative for the program because of the students. Now, this is a weird one because it's the Saturday after Thanksgiving. You're hoping the students will come back a little bit early, but college students coming back to school early right before finals, it's a roll of the dice a little bit. But we've had great home crowds, even last week, the Saturday before Thanksgiving. It was a little light outside for tailgate, but man, they filled up and they came in and they were loud and they were great for the game. I hope this community never takes for granted having this level of football, and, down the road, we'll see where things go. But you just hope that they continue to come out and even support us if we're not as good as we are right now. But this has been a really special season. I think there's opportunity to do some things again that this program has done in the past, but with this group, and they work so hard. I was saying to somebody the other day, these kids right now, we're all thinking about what are we serving for Thanksgiving dinner, and I'm going to watch the game over here. What third dessert am I going to have with my coffee or whatever else? These guys don't get to go home. This is where they want to be. No doubt about that. They want to be playing Saturday, but they don't get to go have Thanksgiving. They got to stay here and have coaches yelling at them all week long. And while the other other kids are out having fun. So get out there and support them because they deserve it. These kids are putting in long days. I mean, they get up and practice in the morning. They lift weights in the afternoon. They watch film. They go to class most of the time, and then, come see me in class. So they're great guys. And I just really feel like this is a special team. And, once you're in the tournament, that's all you can ask. And then it's, roll the dice each week and let's go out there and try to make it happen. So we'll kick at 1:00 with Newberry on Saturday. For those that may see the podcast that can't come to the game, no matter where you are in the country, it's on ESPN Plus this week. We'll be doing the broadcast, streaming for them, and on the radio, ESPN Pensacola locally. So love to have you out though. After Thanksgiving, come on out and watch some in-person football. It's a little cheaper, right, than SEC tickets and some of that other stuff as well.
A little bit.
How are you feeling about the Egg Bowl? That's what I got to ask you real quick.
I tell you, if you're an Ole Miss fan, you're always nervous. It's just the nature of being an Ole Miss fan. No matter who you're playing, it always feels you're on eggshells the whole time. And then you just got to worry about, Lane Kiffin is definitely the belle of the ball, and every day there's a different rumor. If he can keep the players focused, so far he's done a masterful job of it. And the defense always seems to come in when they really need to. So I'm hopeful, but we're playing at Starkville, and that's a game that could go any way. It's always been crazy. So we'll see.
I know that feeling because my Longhorns have got A&M coming up, and it's kind of that similar type thing. And A&M's really good this year, so it's kind of like it would make my season if somehow Texas could beat Texas A&M. That would make up for the losses to Georgia and some of the other ugly things I've seen this year. So
you got a Manning. You have a Manning, so I'll be rooting for y'all for sure.
Well, I appreciate it, but Rick, you let me know if you need a ticket or two for Saturday. You just holler. We'll get you out there with the Argos as well.
Take care, Will. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rick.
All right.
Thanks for watching. And to keep up with what's going on, be sure and subscribe. Just click on the little dog to the right and click the subscribe button. You can also like this video and click on the bell, which will notify you of new content. This really helps the channel grow. We appreciate you.